different segments also, from national to across the globe, business and sports segment also. Our correspondent will also be joining us with the latest updates. So it's a power-packed 1 hour. First up, the headlines. Centre and states are in high alert. Cyclone YAAS likely to turn into very severe cyclonic storm during the next 24 hours. NDRF deploys 75 teams into relief operations. Eastern Railway suspends 25 trains between May 24 and 29. Armed Forces airlift 950 NDRF personnel. 26 helicopters on standby. Baba Ramdev issues apology over objection-able remarks on allopathy and its practitioners after Union Health Minister Harshvardhan's letter. Says he withdraws his statement regretting the entire controversy. Paediatric trials of Covaxin may begin in June. Steady decline in the positivity rate, which falls to its lowest since 10th May. Central government makes over 21.8 crore vaccine doses available to states and union territories free of cost. Centre allocates 22.17 lakh vials of remdesivir to states and UTs for the period 23rd to 30th May. External Affairs Minister S Jaishankar's 5-day visit to US begins today to explore the possibilities of joint production of COVID-19 vaccines with American companies. Likely to meet UN SG Antonio Guterres and will later hold discussions with Secretary of State Antony Blinken. Asian Boxing Championship to begin today in Dubai. India sure of 7 medals in women's section, while adorned with star boxers in the men's section, will look to improve the previous record. Well, let's start with national stories. The impending cyclonic storm YAAS is likely to turn into a very severe cyclonic storm by tomorrow and then into a very severe cyclonic storm again. It will most probably make landfall somewhere between Odisha's Paradip and Sagar Islands, the southernmost part of West Bengal. India Met Department has confirmed that the cyclonic system, which had turned into well-marked low pressure earlier Sunday, has now intensified further as a depression and will transform into a cyclone by today morning. NDRF has pre-positioned 46 teams which are equipped with boats, tree cutters, telecom equipments, etc. in 5 states and UTs. In addition, 13 teams were airlifted on Sunday for deployment and has kept 10 teams on standby. Indian Coast Guard and the Navy had deployed ships and helicopters for relief, search and rescue operations. Air Force and Engineer Task Force units of Army with boats and rescue equipment are on standby for deployment. 7 ships with humanitarian assistance and disaster relief units are on standby along western coast. Meanwhile, 25 eastern coastal area bound train will remain cancelled from today till May 29th in view of Cyclone YAAS as a precautionary measure. And the Director General of India Met Department, Dr. Mrityunjay Mohapatra, spoke exclusively to DD India about Cyclone YAAS and preparations made for tackling it. Listen.
The Director General IMD, Dr. Mohapatra, to talk about the impending cyclone at the coast of Bengal and Odisha. Sir, what is the latest and what can we expect in the next 24 to 48 hours?
Today, the low pressure area has concentrated in the depression in East Central Bay of Bengal. Now it is located about 700 kilometers south-southeast of Balasore and Digha. It is expected to move north-northwestwards and intensify into a cyclonic storm tomorrow morning. Okay. And thereafter it will also continue to move north-northwestwards and cross North Odisha and West Bengal coast between Paradip and Sagar Island around evening of 26th May. System will be a very severe cyclonic storm. Wind speed will be 155 to 165, gusting to 185 km per hour around the landfall area.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi has chaired a high-level meeting. What are the key points that has been spoken about it?
Honorable Prime Minister reviewed today the preparedness activity in association with this possible cyclone, and the preparedness of the state government, central agencies were reviewed, and I want to mention here that entire machinery of state and the center are working together to meet this challenge like the previous cyclones, and I am hopeful that we will meet this challenge and save our life and property.
What are the other warnings that has been given so far?
We have various types of sector-specific warning. We have got the winds and rainfall warnings for the coastal districts of Odisha and West Bengal. We have got the wind warning and other wave warnings for the sea areas, for coastal shipping, high sea shipping, for global maritime distress safety system internationally, and also we have got the warning for the ports and marine activities along the coast. So in addition to that, also we have got the warning for Indian Navy and naval operations, and also the aviation purpose.
So Cyclone YAAS will be the second cyclone to hit India within 2 weeks' time, and just last week Cyclone Taute, which formed in the Arabian Sea, made landfall in Gujarat, and now Cyclone YAAS likely to make landfall on the 26th evening. Prime Minister Narendra Modi yesterday reviewed the preparedness and planning for tackling the Cyclone YAAS. More in this report.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi chaired a high-level meeting on Sunday to review the preparedness of states and central ministries, agencies concerned to deal with the situation arising out of cyclone. PM Modi directed senior officers to work in close coordination with states to ensure safe evacuation of people from high-risk areas. He also instructed all concerned departments to ensure timely evacuation of those involved in offshore activities. He spoke about the need to ensure that time duration of outages of power supply and communication network are minimum and are restored swiftly. PM also asked officials to ensure proper coordination and planning with state governments to ensure no disruptions in COVID treatment and vaccination in hospitals. He also spoke about the need to involve district administrations in process of planning and preparedness for better learning from best practices and seamless coordination. PM directed officials that advisories and instructions on do's and don'ts during the cyclone be made available in easy to understand and local language to citizens of affected districts. PM spoke about the need to involve various stakeholders, that is coastal communities, industries, etc., by directly reaching out to them and sensitizing them. PM was informed about Cabinet Secretaries meeting on 22nd May with Chief Secretaries of all coastal states and union territories and central ministries, agencies concerned. Ministry of Home Affairs is reviewing the situation 24/7 and is in touch with the state governments, union territories and central agencies concerned. MHA has already released first installment of SDRF in advance to all states. NDRF has pre-positioned 46 teams which are equipped with boats, tree-cutter equipments, etc. in 5 states and UT. In addition, 13 teams are being airlifted for deployment and has kept 10 teams on standby. Indian Coast Guard and Navy have deployed ships and helicopters for relief, search and rescue operation. Air Force and Engineer Task Force units of Army with boats and rescue equipment are on standby for deployment. 7 ships with humanitarian assistance and disaster relief units are on standby along western coast. NDRF is assisting the state agencies in their preparedness for evacuating people from the vulnerable location and is also continuously holding community awareness campaign on how to deal with the cyclonic situation.
ये जो साइक्लोन है ये IMD के अनुसार वेरी सीवियर साइक्लोनिक स्टॉर्म की कैटेगरी में आता है। वेरी सीवियर साइक्लोनिक स्टॉर्म का मतलब हुआ विंड स्पीड से आकलन किया जाए तो 120 से लेकर 175 तक, गस्टिंग 185 तक जा सकता है। एनडीआरएफ ने तैयारी की है और स्टेट के साथ मिलकर तैयारी की है, और जो अच्छी बात है वो ये कि भारत सरकार की तरफ से हाईएस्ट लेवल पर इसका कॉग्निजेंस दिया गया है। आज माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी ने मीटिंग की, स्टेट के जो भी रिक्वेस्ट है उनको हम लोग अनुमोदित कर रहे हैं और टीम्स जैसे मांगी जा रही है वो दे रहे हैं, और इसी तरह से एनडीआरएफ टीम भी तैनात की जा रही है और जहां जरूरत हो रही है एयरलिफ्टिंग के जरिए भी उनको पहुंचाया जा रहा है।
Ministry of Petroleum and Natural Gas has taken measures to secure all oil installation in the sea and to bring back their shipping vessels to safe harbor. Ministry of Power has activated emergency response system and is keeping in readiness transformers, DG sets and equipments for immediate restoration of electricity. Ministry of Telecom is keeping all the telecom towers and exchanges under constant watch and is fully geared to restore telecom network. Ministry of Health and Family Welfare has issued advisory to states and UTs likely to be affected for health sector preparedness and response on COVID in affected areas. Ministry of Port, Shipping and Waterways has taken measures to secure all shipping vessels and has deployed emergency vessels. Cyclone is very likely to cross North Odisha, West Bengal between Paradip and Sagar Islands by evening of 26th May as a very severe cyclonic storm. With Bureau Inputs, DD India.
And the latest we are getting is that deep depression over East Central Bay of Bengal intensified into cyclonic storm YAAS over Eastern Bay of Bengal. My colleague Tapas joins me to give us more information on this. Tapas, what more can you tell us?
Yes, this is a breaking in fact coming in that a deep depression that was prevalent from yesterday late evening till today in the morning has just turned into a cyclonic storm. In fact, IMD has issued a yellow warning, a message to in its bulletin. As of now, for the last 6 hours, the particular cyclonic storm is stationed currently as close to almost 650 kilometers southeast of Balasore near Odisha and 603 kilometers southeast of Digha and the West Bengal. It is expected that in the next 24 hours, this particular cyclone will turn into a severe cyclonic storm, and next in the ensuing subsequent 24 hours, it will turn into a very severe cyclonic storm. So that's the message that is coming out. A warning has been already issued to fishermen as well as for ports so that they take the necessary precautions. What I can tell you is that the different teams, especially places in Odisha and Bengal, have been specially been given this warning to make sure that they undertake all the necessary evacuation that is required. Remember, this particular cyclone, even though it will have a landfall over Sagar area from West Bengal to Balasore or almost Paradip in Odisha, it will have a severe impact also on Kolkata, the main capital of West Bengal. So all those things have to keep in mind that even though the landfall will be on that particular stretch of the coastal area that I just spoke about, the impact can also be felt quite heavily in the capital of West Bengal, where Kolkata is expected to bear the brunt of it. As of now, NDRF is also moving ahead with its preparedness and has deployed teams in 4 states of the coastal areas adjoining Bay of Bengal, including Telangana, Andhra Pradesh, and West Bengal and Odisha. And the necessary precautions has been taken so far.
Also, Tapas, what are the areas that have been put on high alert, and also tell us about the preparations also to face the cyclone. The National Crisis Management Committee held a meeting on Saturday, and the high-level meeting was also held yesterday, chaired by Prime Minister Narendra Modi.
That's right. So let me just tell you that the coastal, south coastal Odisha, which is expected from today onwards, 24th to 25th is expected heavy rainfall activity. In fact, also same with the Bengal area also in Odisha. We've been told that Kendrapada, Mayurbhanj, Balasore, Bhadrak are those Jajpur, Keonjhar. These are some of the coastal areas which will have which will bear the maximum brunt of this particular cyclone, where the heavy rainfall activity already starting from today onwards. In West Bengal, South and North Chobis Pargana, Mednipur area, Kolkata, Hubli, Howrah, along with Purulia, Bankura, and Bardhaman are expected to have will receive a heavy rainfall activity from today onwards, and also there are light to moderate rainfall activities also expected on 26th and 27th on Jharkhand and Bihar also. So far, what I can tell you is that the NDRF and the state administration, especially in Odisha and Bengal, where the local relief operation of on both ODRF and along with in Bengal. They are right now currently working on a plan to evacuate people from the coastal area, especially in the fishermen villages where the kacha makan or the huts that they stay in are in danger of being blown away. And that's one of the reasons why they have been taken to a shelter home, safe shelter home, where they will be put there. And the evacuation process is currently going on, keeping in mind the COVID situation, the COVID appropriate behavior protocol that is currently there. Also, hospitals have been told to stock up the oxygen as well as medicine supply, so that when the cyclone hits, there won't be any problem while providing the oxygen as well as the electricity. So all those things have been taken forward. The administration, especially the relief operation administration, is working in both the states, tirelessly along with center, and NDRF from the center is currently monitoring the situation very closely. Abhishek.
Absolutely, Tapas, like you said, double challenge for the states also to tackle coronavirus also, and also to minimize the impact of Cyclone YAAS, and very important to work in close coordination with states also. Thank you, Tapas, for giving us your vital time. Now, shifting focus, Yog Guru Baba Ramdev withdrew his contentious statement on allopathy medicines as a response to a letter written by Union Health Minister Dr. Harshvardhan. The Yog Guru issued an apology on his official handle on Twitter. In the letter, Baba Ramdev wrote that he is not opposed to modern medical science and allopathy. He believed that allopathy has made a lot of progress in the life-saving system and the science of surgery and has served humanity. He further wrote that the errors in any medical system should not be taken as an attack on that method, and that he is not at all opposed to science. Baba Ramdev apologized after Union Health Minister Dr. Harshvardhan wrote a letter to him saying that his remarks were detrimental to corona warriors and have hurt the feelings of the entire country. COVID situation now in Delhi. Delhi lockdown will continue till May 31st. The impact of lockdown is well visible, with numbers of new COVID cases dropping every single day. Delhi recorded 1,649 new COVID-19 cases, the lowest since March 30th, and 189 fatalities yesterday. This is the second day on the trot that the number of deaths remained less than 200. And this is also the lowest daily spike in cases recorded since March 30th, when 992 cases were reported, and the first time that the count has gone below the 2,000 mark since April 1st, when 2,790 people tested positive for the infection. Maharashtra now. Maharashtra has reported 26,672 new COVID-19 cases yesterday. Besides, 29,177 patients recovered, while 594 persons died in the last 24 hours. As of today, there are 3,48,395 active cases in the state. Meanwhile, amid some experts warning of a possible third wave, Maharashtra Chief Minister Uddhav Thackeray has appealed to people to consult doctors immediately if children show any kind of symptoms. Addressing pediatricians virtually, the Chief Minister said the immediate diagnosis was the need of the hour. Right, my colleague Shishir Shelar is joining me live to give us more updates on the COVID situation in Maharashtra. Shishir, good morning. The active cases have been declining in Maharashtra, but it has recorded nearly 20,000 confirmed COVID deaths in the month of May itself, making it one of the deadliest months since the start of the pandemic.
Well, absolutely. If you look at these numbers, especially since last 3-4 weeks, we have seen here that the declining trend in Maharashtra as far as COVID positive patients are concerned. Obviously, this is a good sign in Maharashtra, but on the other side, if you look at the death rate or the death numbers, basically, which is quite a worrying factor for the Maharashtra government here, because during the first wave also, Maharashtra hasn't reported such a large number. But this particular wave is quite difficult in terms of also the positivity ratio and along with the fatality ratio is concerned. Yesterday, Maharashtra is here, and that's the reason even government right now is trying to reduce this number. Obviously, the COVID positive patients have been reducing day by day. The recovery rate has gone to almost 92% of came down below 70% at one point in time. But now, as we have seen here, that the numbers have been recovering, especially the recovered patients increased compared to the positive patients, and that's the reason the recovery rate has increased in Maharashtra. So now the focus is obviously to reduce these numbers and also to reduce the mortality rate also in Maharashtra, and that's the reason the state government have taken various measures here. Now, as you rightly said, they're looking into the third wave, the possible third wave in Maharashtra. The state government have already ramped up the infrastructure as far as the oxygen supply is concerned, the beds availability is concerned, and probably there's also other equipment that are required to tackle the entire situation here. Well, the experts have also said that the children probably will have more danger in third wave. This is a possible comment that probably most of the expert doctors are saying. The state government is also preparing themselves for this particular thing. Also, a special pediatric beds will be made available for the children if this situation arrives here. Talking about the metro city, especially in Mumbai, the Mumbai Municipal Corporation will also enhance its bed capacity to nearly 4,000 to 5,000 beds. They will also create some of the jumbo care facilities near Maharashtra, near Mumbai, like the one we have currently in Mumbai at various locations here. So obviously, government is focusing on reducing this number, but at the same time, they are focusing on to increase the capacity and the infrastructure in the state, looking the possibility of third wave in Maharashtra.
Right. Consult doctors immediately if children show any symptoms. That's what Maharashtra Chief Minister Uddhav Thackeray said. He also spoke to the pediatricians, doctors virtually also. But Shishir, we want to know about the vaccination drive also in Maharashtra. Are people going in numbers for the jab?
Well, absolutely. But the numbers are concerned. Yesterday, the vaccination drive at most of the places was stopped due to insufficient vials. Most of the local administrators have already said that they don't have the sufficient stock, and that's the reason at various locations in Maharashtra, yesterday being Sunday, the vaccination drive was stopped here. As soon as they get vaccines, they will continue the vaccine. That's what most of the district authority have told us. But most important, if you look at the numbers, basically the vaccine Maharashtra has received, it's almost crossed a 2 crore mark. Now this 2 crore, if you look at the entire situation here, the Mumbai, Pune, and Nagpur, these are the regions which are actually leading as far as the vaccination drives are concerned. With the innovative ways also be the drive-in vaccination for the elderly people can also participate in it. But currently, looking at the doses, what the state government has said is that there were less number of doses they have, and that's the reason at various locations the vaccination drive is stopped. But apart from that, different age groups that we have already set up for vaccination. The first age group that we're talking about, 60 plus, the government is ramping up the vaccination for them, as well as the 45 plus age group the government is also focusing on. Currently, the 18 plus group, especially in the government hospitals, have been stopped. The government is not administering vaccine to them due to the shortage of vaccine. But the state government said that as soon as they get the proper supply of vaccine, they will continue with the 18 plus age group vaccination also.
Absolutely. Getting more and more people vaccinated is the need of the hour. Thank you, Shishir, for bringing us up to speed on the COVID situation in Maharashtra. Moving further, in Tamil Nadu, strict 1 week full lockdown came into force from today to tackle the ongoing second wave of the COVID-19 in the states. Roads for a deserted look across the state today as all shops, including vegetable and grocery shops, were closed. However, essential services like pharmacies, petrol bunks and milk supply, among others, are allowed to operate. Checkposts and barricades were put up on all major roads and all flyovers were shut. Only those with valid e-registration passes for medical care and funerals were allowed to travel. The State Horticulture Department made arrangements for the sale of vegetables and fruits through mobile vehicles in coordination with local bodies. Essential central and state government departments and banks have been allowed to function with limited strength. E-commerce services include food delivery have been allowed to function during certain hours. Media, continuous process industries and units manufacturing essentials and medical equipment have been allowed to operate as per previous lockdown norms. Well, now let's take a look at fresh COVID-19 data as issued by the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare. India's daily recoveries continue to outnumber the daily new cases for the 11th consecutive day today. 3,02,544 recoveries were registered in the last 24 hours. India's cumulative recoveries have reached 2,37,28,011 today, and the national recovery rate has grown further to touch 88.69%. And currently there are 8,46,083 active cases, and it now comprises 10.17% of the country's total positive cases. Next story, Bharat Biotech may commence pediatric trials of its COVID-19 vaccine Covaxin from June. The company announced the decision after receiving permission to carry out trials on children aged 2 to 18 years. Bharat Biotech's business development and international advocacy head exuded confidence that vaccine for kids may get the license in the third quarter of this year. Holding a virtual conversation with members of the FICCI Ladies Organization in Hyderabad on all about vaccines, he said the company expected approval from the World Health Organization for Covaxin by the end of third or fourth quarter. Ella also said Bharat Biotech will be ramping up manufacturing capacity of Covaxin to 700 million doses by the end of this year. Talking about oxygen supply now, overcoming all hurdles and finding new solutions, Indian Railways is continuing its journey of bringing relief by delivering liquid medical oxygen to various states across the country. So far, Indian Railways has delivered more than 15,284 metric ton of liquid medical oxygen in more than 936 tankers to various states across the country. It may be noted that 234 oxygen expresses have completed their journey so far and brought relief to various states. Currently, around 9 loaded oxygen expresses on a run with more than 569 metric ton of liquid medical oxygen in 31 tankers. Oxygen expresses have been delivering more than 800 metric ton of liquid medical oxygen to the nation each day now. It is Indian Railways' endeavour to deliver as much liquid medical oxygen as possible in the shortest time possible to the requesting states. Oxygen relief by oxygen expresses reached out to 14 states, namely Uttarakhand, Karnataka, Maharashtra, Madhya Pradesh, Andhra Pradesh, Rajasthan, Tamil Nadu, Haryana, Telangana, Punjab, Kerala, Delhi, Uttar Pradesh and Assam. The Indian Navy also continues to support the fight against the global pandemic. As part of ongoing COVID relief Operation Samudra Setu, 2 INS Trikhand arrived at Mumbai yesterday with COVID relief material from Qatar. INS Trikhand brought 2 liquid medical oxygen containers of 20 metric ton each and 100 oxygen cylinders. Even as Indian Navy remains deployed to augment the critical medical stores in the nation's ongoing fight against COVID-19. Indian naval ships Teg, Betwa, Subhadra, Makar, Tarasa and 07 ISVs apart from naval helicopters and aircraft relentlessly continue with their efforts off the west coast of India in wake of the sinking of barge 305 in ODA due to havoc wreaked by Cyclone YAAS. Meanwhile, Union Ministry of Health and Family Welfare is constantly monitoring the situation all across the nation. The Health Department has appealed to the people to venture out of their homes only if it is absolutely necessary. That states have also been advised to create micro containment zones. Moving further, External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar reaches New York on his first visit after India entered the UN Security Council on 1st January 2021. Jaishankar's 5-day visit will focus on procurement of COVID-19 vaccines from American companies as well as explore the possibility of their joint production. During the course of his visit, the minister will hold discussions with US Secretary of State Antony Blinken besides meeting senior officials of the Biden administration. In New York, Dr. S. Jaishankar is expected to meet UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres too. Besides, Jaishankar will also have 2 interactions with business forums on economic and COVID-19 related cooperation between the 2 countries. Right, to talk more on this, our correspondent Abhishek Jha joins us with more information. Abhishek, good morning. Subramaniam Jaishankar is on a 5-day visit to the US and he has reached there. That's what we are getting to know. And what do we expect from this visit? Primary focus on procurement of COVID-19 vaccines from American companies?
Of course, Abhishek, this is the first thing in his mind when he has landed in USA, because in the last few weeks, the kind of scenes we have seen in India, especially because of COVID. So the India has understood that the long-term strategy to deal with this pandemic could only be the vaccination, and the vaccination capacity of the two Indian manufacturers, Serum Institute of India and Bharat Biotech, are not being able to cope up with the rising demand or the ability to vaccinate all the people as quickly as possible. So India, of course, needs a lot more to collaborate and cooperate with international organizations. Especially, there are few US companies which have been able to discover vaccines, and they have been also approved by WHO, and they are enlisted in Gavi also. So Indian External Affairs Minister, when he'll be in USA, he'll be talking to these companies' representatives so that a more cooperative structure can be created where these vaccines which have been approved can be manufactured in India. Besides, the Indian manufacturing capacity can also be enhanced through the supplies of various raw materials. Recently, we had seen that how USA was lastly, like after a little bit of apprehension, was able to release a lot of raw materials that was needed to manufacture this vaccine back at home here. So how can the cooperation of existing infrastructure of India be scaled up and the new vaccine manufacturing capacity can be added so that a larger overall capacity can be boosted up, and Indian population can have a better and quick availability of vaccine as soon as possible. At the same time, the production capacity can help in supplying Gavi, which is the International Vaccination Cooperation Agency, so that more countries which are not being able to afford the vaccine or which are not being able to discover a vaccine on their own can also get supplies of vaccine continuously until the entire population of the globe can be vaccinated. So this cooperation and collaboration is the key focus area when External Affairs Jaishankar, Minister Jaishankar is in USA for 4 days of his visit.
Absolutely, Abhishek. And also, US is playing a lead role in assisting India's fight against COVID-19, be it oxygen concentrators, providing oxygen plants, critical medicines like remdesivir also, and also raw materials for the vaccine manufacturers also. And US is also backing India's proposal on TRIPS waiver at the WTO. So India's focus will also be on the tie-up with vaccine developers also to produce in India.
First thing, Abhishek, when External Affairs Minister is in USA, USA has been able to give assistance to India of almost to the tune of $500 million in the last few weeks that we have seen. How those big oxygen generation plant, oxygen concentrators, remdesivir, ICU equipment, and a lot more equipment and therapeutics have been come as a support from US, and very few individuals, few states of US have also risen to the occasion and helped India in that. Given that currently US has got almost 80 million of vaccine stock lying with itself, and which the US president has declared that it's going to share with the world. India is also eyeing to have a large share from that 80 million vaccine doses that USA is going to share with the world, because the kind of speed we need to have in terms of vaccination to the people is necessary to bring that pandemic under control, because we are also staring at, as the experts have been saying, a third wave of COVID pandemic, and towards the end of the year sometime. So before that third wave hits India, the government is trying to vaccinate as many people as possible so that the impact of third wave could be brought down. This is also one of the key areas of concern of India, and not only USA, India is also trying to cooperate with other countries in the world where so that the vaccination facility in India can be utilized for the world over, and more approved vaccination can be brought to India for the manufacturing to scale up their overall manufacturing. Apart from that, USA and India have also been mobilizing an effort to waiver of TRIPS so that more licensing of these vaccines, those which have been approved and have a proper license with the US companies or few other European companies, can also be made license free, and the global vaccine manufacturing capacity, like wherever there are manufacturing bases, wherever there are labs which are equipped to manufacture these vaccines, can all be brought together at one platform, because this is a pandemic that is one of its kind, unprecedented in last 100 years at least. So we need all the capacity, all the intellectual property rights need not to be as commercially stringent this time around, because the larger human good is something of paramount interest, and this is what India and USA has also trying to push that the strips waiver should be there. There should not be licensing, and all the manufacturing capacity around the globe should be utilized to manufacture as many vaccine and as soon as possible. So these are the long-term solutions for this whole COVID pandemic across the globe, and this is what External Affairs Minister will be discussing with his US officials and US counterparts when he'll be in for 4 days.
Absolutely. A lot of discussions on EAM's 5-day visit to US, and primary focus will be on the vaccines. Thank you, Abhishek. Thank you for giving us your precious time. Moving further, a national consultation to discuss conduct of Class 12 exams and professional entrance exams was held virtually yesterday, which was chaired by Defence Minister Rajnath Singh. The discussions were held around 2 themes: board exams to be conducted for Class 12 by the Central Board of Secondary Education and other state boards, and the All India entrance examination for various higher education institutions and professional courses. Various options regarding the methodology, process, duration and timings of the exams were discussed. While a broad consensus was there, but it was decided that states and UTs may like to further examine the matter and send their feedback or suggestions in writing by 25th of May, that is tomorrow. The Education Ministry will consider all those suggestions and take a final decision soon.
मेरे प्रिय छात्र छात्राओं, जो आज बैठक हुई है उसमें कुछ राज्यों ने कुछ समय मांगा है और सुझाव देने के लिए, और उनको कहा गया है कि 25 मई तक वो अपने सुझाव दे देंगे, ताकि जल्दी से जल्दी हम इस अनिश्चितता को दूर कर सकें। जो भी परिस्थितियां होंगी वो आपकी सुरक्षा और आपका भविष्य, हमारे सामने दोनों चीज़ें हैं, सुरक्षा पहले और उसके बाद आपका भविष्य। इन दोनों को देख करके हम फिर 1 जून को आगे का आपको अवगत कराएंगे जो भी परिस्थितियाँ होंगी। हमने ये भी कहा था कि जब भी हम इस बात की घोषणा करेंगे तो कम से कम 15 दिन हम आपको देंगे, ताकि आपके मन में अचानक न हो कि कब तिथियों की घोषणा हो और कब फिर जो है आप संभलें। अध्यापक कर्ण से भी कहा कि यदि आपके भी कोई सुझाव होंगे तो मेरे ट्विटर पर आप अपने सीधे सीधे सुझाव भेज सकते हैं।
Right now, let's move on to our next segment, where we bring you news from across the globe. First in this segment, let's now take a look at the updates on the COVID-19 from across the world. The virus has infected more than 16 crore 75 lakh people, while the number of recoveries stand above 14 crore 85 lakh globally. Over 34 lakh 78,000 fatalities due to COVID-19 have been reported worldwide. The United States continues to remain worst affected country with over 3 crore 38 lakh 96,000 cases of COVID-19 with more than 6 lakh deaths. And the situation is not good in Japan. Hospitals in Japan's second largest city of Osaka are buckling under a huge wave of new coronavirus infections, running out of beds and ventilators as exhausted doctors warn of a system collapse and advise against holding the Olympics this summer. Japan's western region, home to 9 million people, is suffering the brunt of the 4th wave of the pandemic, although it constitutes just 7% of its population. The speed at which Osaka's healthcare system was overwhelmed underscores the challenges of hosting a major global sports events in 2 months' time, particularly as only about half of Japan's medical staff have completed inoculations. Japan has avoided the large infections suffered by other nations, but the 4th pandemic wave has taken Osaka prefecture by storm. Parisians enjoyed dining outside during France's first weekend on Sunday since the reopening of restaurant terraces on May 19. France's 7-day moving average for new COVID-19 cases held below the 14,000 mark for a 4th day running on Saturday, down from a peak of more than 42,000 in mid-April when the country was in the midst of its 3rd lockdown. France has been gradually loosening its lockdown since the start of May and hopes to lift all major restrictions by the end of June. Since May 19th, cafes and restaurants have been able to serve customers in outside areas, and the nightly curfew has been pushed back by 2 hours. Civil rights leaders and activists held a rally in Minneapolis on Sunday and called 1 year What's Changed to commemorate the first anniversary of George Floyd's death. They then marched through the streets demanding police reform. Floyd's death sparked a summer of nationwide protest over policing and systemic racism. Last month, a jury found Chauvin guilty of second and third degree murder and manslaughter after hearing 3 weeks of testimony in a highly publicized trial. Chauvin is scheduled to be sentenced on June 25th. Colombia now, at least one police officer was injured when a petrol bomb struck him during a protest in Colombia's capital. The officer, dressed in riot gear, was breaking up a protest on Saturday night when he was engulfed in flames by the improvised incendiary device. He suffered first-degree burns and is in the intensive care unit of the Central Police Hospital. According to Colombia's National Police Major General, the officer has suffered respiratory complications. The demonstrations were part of a nationwide protest launched by unions 4 weeks ago in Colombia's main cities to demand basic income, an end to police violence and opportunities for young people. More than 200 cops have been injured at the demonstrations, while the Attorney General's office has confirmed 15 deaths connected to protests. Belarus now. A Ryanair plane from Greece to Lithuania was diverted to Belarus for several hours on Sunday in an attempt to arrest a dissident journalist on board. The ex-editor of the Nexta Group, Roman Protasevich, was detained before the plane was allowed to resume its flight. Belarus media says that a MiG-29 escorted the jet to Minsk because of a bomb scare, but no explosives were found. The plane finally landed in Lithuanian capital Vilnius, which was its original destination, more than 7 hours after its scheduled arrival. Arriving passengers said they had been given no information about the reason for the abrupt diversion to Minsk. European nations reacted with outrage, accusing Belarus of state terrorism, and there have been calls for the EU and NATO to intervene. UK Foreign Secretary Dominic Raab warned the outlandish action would have serious implications. And since August election, 66-year-old Mr. Lukashenko, who has ruled the country since 1994, has cracked down on dissenting voices. Many opposition figures have been arrested or fled into exile. Now let's see how was the flight diverted. Flight FR 4978 was en route from Athens to Vilnius when it turned east into Minsk shortly before it reached the Lithuanian border. Greece and Lithuania put the number of passengers on board at 171. In a statement, Ryanair said that the crew had been notified by Belarus air traffic control of a potential security threat on board and were instructed to divert to the nearest airport, Minsk. The flight path visible suggests the plane was actually nearer to Vilnius than Minsk when it turned. Meanwhile, Lithuania's president has called for sanctions against Belarus if the country did not release a Belarusian activist detained by authorities. Lithuanian President Gitanas Nausėda said the detention of opposition-minded journalist Roman Protasevich was part of a pattern aimed at intimidating the opposition. Nausėda said he would raise the issue of Protasevich's detention at a meeting of European leaders to be held today. Italy now. At least 14 people died and 3 were seriously injured on Sunday when a cable car linking Italy's Lake Maggiore with a nearby mountain in the Alps plunged 20 meters to the ground. The Stresa Motorone cable car takes tourists and locals from the town on Lake Maggiore, almost 1,400 meters above sea level, to the top of the Motorone mountain in 20 minutes. The accident happened as the cable car was traveling up the mountain with the cabin dropping some 20 meters and rolling several times down the steep slopes before it was stopped by the trees. People hiking on the mountain heard a loud hiss just before the crash, adding that it was believed to have been caused by one of the cable breaking. The Stresa Motorone lift had only recently reopened following the gradual lifting of coronavirus restrictions. Brazil's President Jair Bolsonaro on Sunday led a motorcade rally through Rio de Janeiro streets where thousands showed their support for the Brazilian leader. Hundreds of motorcycle riding supporters of Bolsonaro joined the caravan as he rode his motorcycle through the Rio streets to the city's World War monument. Crowds of cheering Brazilians wearing the national colors of yellow and green lined the streets to show their support for Bolsonaro as his large group of motorcyclists rode past. The rally took place after a Senate committee began to investigate the handling of the pandemic in Brazil and the slow ramp-up of the nation's inoculation campaign. Brazil has the second highest death toll in the world, and its immunization campaign has been criticized for its slow rollout. And with a warming climate, melting more Arctic ice cover and global industries eager to exploit the region for shipping, fishing, drilling and mining, Arctic ministers met in Reykjavik on Thursday to discuss regional issues. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov and US Secretary of State Antony Blinken are among representatives from 8 nations bordering the Arctic taking part in the biennial meeting. The others are Canada, Finland, Norway, Denmark and Iceland, with the region's indigenous populations also represented. This year marked the 25th anniversary of the Arctic Council, which is the leading intergovernmental forum for cooperation, coordination and interaction among the countries on common Arctic issues, in particular on sustainable development and environmental protection. The meeting marks the close of Iceland's 2-year period chairing of the Council. Russia will assume the chairmanship for the next 2 years. A volcanic eruption near Democratic Republic of Congo's main city appeared to have halted on Sunday morning after raging through local villages. Thousands fled with their belongings on foot, some towards the nearby border with Rwanda. As the sun rose on Sunday, much of the hillside to the north of the town was burned black and houses had been demolished. Traffic was in gridlock in most places as people tried to leave or return to assess the damage to their homes. Nyiragongo's volcano is one of the world's most active volcanoes and is considered among the most dangerous. Well, after international stories, let's move on to our next segment, which is Web News Review. Well, our correspondent Amritpal is joining us for this segment. Very good morning, Amritpal. Over to you.
Good morning, Abhishek. Most newspapers and web portals have led with this news about corona crisis. It says the Indian Express has printed the story which says CBSE class 12th exam, most states for a shorter version. Now, after Defence Minister Rajnath Singh held a meeting with the education ministers and education secretaries of various states, most states have supported the CBSE's proposal to conduct class 12th board examinations for only 19 major subjects in a shortened format in July or August this year. The paper says, however, states such as Kerala, Assam, Delhi, Maharashtra, Madhya Pradesh, Haryana and Meghalaya have urged the central government to vaccinate teachers and students to ensure their safety during the time of at the test center. Except for a few states, including Delhi and Maharashtra, other states have favored going ahead with the examination. This is what a source told the Indian Express, and it has quoted the source saying that the priority of the government is to conduct examinations in a safe and secure environment. This is actually not a source's quote. This is what Rajnath Singh said after the meeting, and all states have been asked to submit their feedback in writing by the 25th of May, that's tomorrow. The other story that the first post has printed, it says COVID-19 lockdowns extended in Delhi, Haryana, Rajasthan. Moderna denies Punjab's vaccine request. Now, Delhi, Haryana, Rajasthan have extended their lockdowns given the situation in these states. Chief Minister of Delhi, Arvind Kejriwal, recommended extending the lockdown for another week. He said though some relaxations can be given in the commercial activities. Rajasthan has already extended the lockdown by 15 days till the 8th of June. Though again, relaxation and commercial activities in districts where the numbers are less could be given. Haryana government has extended the lockdown till 31st of May and insisted that the positivity and the fatality rates need to be brought down further. Puducherry, where cases continue to soar, the lockdown has been extended till the 31st of May. Now, according to a report, Moderna, Punjab had written directly to Moderna, where Moderna apparently has written to Punjab saying that they do not deal with state governments or private players. They only deal with the government of India, and once their deal with the government of India is through, only then can they export vaccines into India. So Punjab's request, according to the newspaper, has been denied. One India has printed the story which says UK study finds corona vaccines highly effective against the B.1.617.2 variant. They've basically done studies on the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine, which is called as Covishield in India, says it's 60% effective against the symptomatic disease of this B.1.617.2 virus variant. And the studies have shown that only the vaccines are found to be only 33% effective against the variant after just one dose of either jab. The other story that the Times of India has printed, it says there is a discrepancy in the numbers that, according to the paper, the Serum Institute of India and Bharat Biotech are producing. The paper says SII and Bharat Biotech are producing minimum 8 crore doses a month, yet only 5 crore will be given by May end. They've put down these figures and also done a comparative analysis based on the affidavit given by the central government in the Supreme Court. The Times of India says Ramdev withdraws controversial remarks about allopathy after nudge from Harshvardhan. Now, Yoga Guru Baba Ramdev, who had drawn criticism from the medical fraternity about his remarks about allopathy, has now withdrawn these remarks after Harshvardhan, the Union Health Minister, urged him to do so. And he said, remember, the Union Health Ministers had said that Ramdev's remarks were detrimental to corona warriors and have hurt the feelings of the entire country. And after this Twitter post, Baba Ramdev withdrew his remarks. So Abhishek, that's what's made it to the newspapers and the web portals this morning. It's back to you.
Right, Amritpal, you have covered almost all important stories. Thank you for this segment. Right, from Web News Review segment to our next segment now, which is Sports Track. Well, boxing to start off with. India short of 7 medals at Asian Boxing Championships as 7 women entered the semi-finals at the Asian Championships in Dubai. Indian pugilist, 6-time world champion MC Maricom stayed top in her category. Defending champion Pooja Rani, Anupama Saviti, Lavlina Borgohain, Lal Bhuatseahi and Monica made their last 4 stage. A total of 6 Indian male boxers, including defending champion Amit Panghal, Varinder Singh, Vikas Krishan, Ashish Kumar, Sanjeet and Narendra, got first round byes into quarterfinals. In all, 19 Indian boxers, 9 men and 10 women will stake their claim for the top honours. A total of 27 countries were expected to participate, but that shrunk to 17 on Sunday due to COVID-19 forced travel restrictions. The tournament was initially scheduled in New Delhi but was shifted to Dubai due to travel restrictions. The event is jointly hosted by Boxing Federation of India and UAE Boxing Federation. Football now, finishing third in the English Premier League, Liverpool secured the Champions League qualification spots on a thrilling last day of the Premier League season. Managed to defeat Crystal Palace 2-0. Sadio Mane scored both goals for Liverpool as he scored the first goal in the 36th minute on a pass from Firmino. In the 74th minute of the match, Mane again managed to score his second goal on the pass of Mohamed Salah. Liverpool, who were once out of the top 4, managed to win the league in the final 4, winning 5 consecutive matches. Nearly 10,000 supporters from Liverpool were present on the field to watch the match. Moving further, Manchester United defeated Wolverhampton 2-1 in the final match of the Premier League. For Manchester United, 19-year-old Anthony Elanga scored the first goal in 13th minute. This was Elanga's first goal in the Premier League. However, Wolverhampton's Nelson scored the goal in the 39th minute to make it 1-1. Just before the end of the first half of the game, Juan Mata scored a goal to give Man U the edge. Once again with a 2-1 lead, no team was able to score goals in the second half. With this victory, Man U finished the season in second place in the league. Man City now, Sergio Aguero signed off for Manchester City in style as he scored twice in a 5-0 romp-up for Premier League champions against Everton and lifting the trophy for the 5th time in his Etihad career. City's record goal scorer hit a quick-fire double after coming off the bench with 25 minutes remaining. His efforts added to earlier strikes from Kevin De Bruyne, Gabriel Jesus and Phil Foden as City showed no sign of letting up ahead of the showpiece clash against Chelsea in Porto. The winner trophy was awarded to Man City in the presence of spectators at the stadium to watch City for the first time this season. Well, now let's take a look at today's weather forecast. Heavy to very heavy rainfall at isolated places over Andaman and Nicobar Islands on 24th, over north coastal Odisha on 25th, Gajantic West Bengal on 25th to 27th, and Jharkhand on 26th and Bihar on 27th. Scattered heavy to very heavy rainfall with isolated extremely falls over Odisha and Gajantic West Bengal on 26th May 2021, and isolated heavy to very heavy rainfall with extremely falls over Jharkhand on 27th. Now let's take a look at the temperature across cities in India. Time for a wrap, but it's a reminder to use face masks before you step out of your house. Follow COVID appropriate behavior and the guidelines of the government. But before we end the breakfast show, we'll leave you with the optical illusion of a giant Eiffel Tower in black and white, with its feet standing across a precipice between two cliffs and its top cropped to reveal the real Eiffel Tower. The illusion is viewed perfectly from a certain angle, prompting a queue of visitors taking photos while jumping across the cliff. Take a look. Namaskar.